Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And this is a very interesting part of the network. Some call it the backbone of the network. And as you see by the title, Verizon's One Fiber build rolls out full steam ahead. Now, why do I make an emphasis on that? Because recently Neville Ray spoke at the Wells Fargo conference, and he stated that Verizon's fiber build was very low compared to AT&T's, and that most of their network was on a third-party basis in terms of leasing fiber, kind of the same structure as his network. Well, the CTO of Verizon also presented at the Wells Fargo conference, and he said the complete opposite of Neville. He said his fiber deployment is 80% complete to what the company had set forth as a goal. And as he's working through these markets, more and more of his cell sites are getting their own fiber. So the reference that Neville made, that AT&T's network and the owner economics work for them because they have 50% of their entire cell grid with their own fiber, Verizon is close to that too. They're not at the 20 or 30% that Neville Ray was speaking of. Verizon stated that they have already worked through the top 50 and 60 markets. They're not 100% complete on those markets, but they're working through those. And they also have a goal of hitting 50% of their cell sites. And they're going to continue this one fiber build for the next 2 to 3 years. So it's a very interesting build because as you go through more than the 60 markets, you now have access to your own fiber. And Neville Ray stated that the leasing model the rates have remained flat over the last few years. And I just can't get on board with that. Everything has gone up over the last several years, especially as they go from 1 gig to 5 gig to 10 gig links on the backhaul. That has to cost more. And the statement that he was making, he was even referencing some of the third-party partners that he works with on fiber, Zayo, AT&T, Verizon, so on and so forth. The model that he's referencing is in more of the metro areas where it's a lot more competitive on who has fiber. So if there's 4 companies that offer fiber that he can use for backhaul and front haul, then yeah, there's competition there in the pricing, and he could potentially negotiate a lower price depending on which company he chooses to go with. Say Verizon is completely much more expensive on a per site basis versus Zayo, then he's going to go with Zayo. Now, that cannot be mimicked on a nationwide basis. El Paso is a perfect example. There aren't 4 or 5 fiber providers in this market. On a large scale, he had to just go with AT&T. So unless another fiber provider is coming, which Verizon is rolling out their one fiber here, so that's a potential another competitor on fiber in this market, he's going to just have to pay what AT&T is asking him to pay. Will there be some negotiations ongoing? Yes, he could get a 10, maybe 20% discount, whatnot, if the negotiations are in favor of T-Mobile. But other than that, he's going to just have to pay whatever AT&T is asking him to pay to go to 2, 5, 10 gig links on the backhaul. So, and that's something that Verizon is no longer going to have to do. They work through the 60 markets, more than the 60 markets. They lay their own fiber, and now it becomes economic ownership comes to play. They no longer have to negotiate, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, because that's time consuming to get the deal that they may want on the third party basis. They now own their own fiber. So they just go to the site, the fiber's laid. They may need to do some additional upgrading at the site to change out the backhaul the backhaul circuits to be able to push backhaul as high as they can now, since they're running their own fiber. But they don't even have to call or depend on another party to push the backhaul, because they now own it. They can do it themselves. So they can go from 2 gig to 5 gig to 10 gig to 20, 25 gig, whatever they choose to. So it's essentially a initial investment. Yes, don't get me wrong. It's billions and billions of dollars worth of investment upfront. It's an upfront cost that comes from your capex. So no doubt that it's expensive. But once you have the fiber laid to all your sites, the investment has been made. The long-term implications of cost savings are tremendous. So for AT&T and Verizon in the long run, it's going to pay off. One thing that Neville Ray stated just quickly, he said that in his remarks that the leasing model has not raised its rates. It's relatively remained flat. So he doesn't foresee them having to buy their own fiber in the long-term future. He thinks as long as the rates remain the same, that he can continue with the third-party leasing model. And I tend to disagree. I tend to disagree with that. I think in the midterm is when they may already have to start rolling out their own fiber. But if the network build is just being backed by the synergies, then of course they're not going to expend the capex outside of what they have in the guidance. So they're not going to all of a sudden go to 18 billion. You can't expect that to happen, especially if the network is backed by that synergy model. They're not going to go outside of that, so you can forget it. So you're going to continue hearing Neville say that the leasing model works, because that's in his favor. He was also asked very indirectly on what his cost is per site on the per site basis. He said he couldn't answer that because he knows it fluctuates. It's not the same in every market because there's not another competitor that can make the pricing cheaper. So Verizon is full steam ahead on everything across the board. It seems like all the ducks that they have lined up in a row all these years by buying the millimeter wave, a multi-year investment in the One Fiber project, it's starting to pay off. Speeds are going to increase. C-band, once C-band goes on air, they own their own fiber on the cell sites. It's a no-brainer. They just flip a switch and boom, there's 20, 25 gigs of pure backhaul on air to support C-band, the bandwidth, the additional millimeter wave. It's all there. It's all going to be there. And in a lot of the markets, AT&T as well, they're already the ILEC. So, in a lot of those markets, AT&T already runs their own fiber to the cell sites. They transported it. They put it in the ground, and they're expanding into it's another thing to take into consideration, just really briefly on touching on AT&T. As they get more fiber to households, that means they can also start utilizing that fiber going to the house, and the fiber that's being laid into the ground. They can also start utilizing that fiber for front haul and build C-RAN in these neighborhoods as well, or surrounding the neighborhoods. So they're kind of knocking out two birds with one stone by doing the fiber to the house. So that's something to take note of as well, because a lot of the C-RAN, even for Verizon, a lot of the C-RAN and the millimeter wave nodes, they need front haul. So there has to be a hub built, and then that hub brings fiber to all the C-RAN. So it's going to be very interesting to see. This model is definitely going to pay out. I guarantee it. The Verizon and AT&T are in the position to spend more anyway. So additional funding going towards fiber, it just makes perfect sense. So let me know what you think about that in the comment section down below. Look forward to reading your comments. If you have been on the channel or you are new to the channel and you have not yet liked, share, subscribe, make sure you do so. Hit the notification bell so you are notified when I do upload content. Make sure to follow the social media outlets for more updates and interactions. Thanks again for watching. This is Tyrone with Tech Life. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.